Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. And everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's program because fun week, crazy week, wild week. But to end the week, we have Ralph Bond. He joins us here every Friday to bring us amazing stories that, you probably missed. They're stories that fly a little under the radar. There's so many things to talk about in a week that, it's really great to have Ralph on at the end to recap some of the stuff that you may have missed that we know you want to know about. So you can join us over at computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including the show notes primarily, but also the podcast, the video archives, articles, reviews, just anything that we do here for Computer America, including links to social media, you can find there at our website. So, and of course you can see the video portion if you're joining us by watching us. Thank you so much. If you are just listening, don't worry. We are going to explain everything. But in the meantime, sit back and relax and let's bring Ralph on. So he is our science and tech trends correspondent. He's going to get into exactly what that entails. But Ralph, welcome back on to Computer America. How have you been?
I'm doing okay. I hope the rest of the world can make it through another crazy news week, but we're going to give you a very different twist on reality than what you get on your TV and radio these days and online as well. So
Absolutely.
If you're brand new to the show, welcome. It's great to have you. And let's explain what Ben and I do every Friday. Well, what we do is we highlight 4 articles that show us key trends and developments in all things science and tech, including, of course, nearly every single news story these days includes artificial intelligence, so that's a key ingredient. But we look at robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural tech, construction technology, space research, physics, on and on and on. But here's the key, folks, especially we need this week. Most important of all, we're going to give you hope for a better future, thanks to amazing breakthroughs happening every single day in the world of science and technology.
Absolutely. And, I was looking through the stories beforehand because Ralph is kind enough to share them with me before we get started. And I was like, I'm going to do an opener joke. It's going to be, today's stories include things like, for a teaser, Alzheimer research, solar energy, Alzheimer research, and it was going to be a very classy Alzheimer joke, but it wasn't going to work out too well, so I didn't do it, thankfully. But yeah, Ralph, let's start off with some solar energy.
Sure. And before we dive into the first story, if you come out to computeramerica.com and get what we call the show notes, which Ben mentioned in passing, again, we have links, pictures, and the notes, the highlights from these articles. And again, I want to stress that we're just going to give you a skipping stone over the water of each story, just giving you key points. You can get the links and dive deeper if you want to. And one more comment about the show notes. You'll find in many cases blue text. And blue text are inserts that I put to augment these summaries of these articles that probably in most cases have tutorial value. They explain some word or technology that's mentioned in the articles. So let's get into the first story. It comes from digitaltrends.com. Headline: ultra-thin, transparent solar cells promise invisible charging for wearables, cars, and homes. This is really pretty cool, of course, in the world of solar technology. So starting off here, scientists at Nanyang, I hope I'm saying that right, Nanyang, Nanyang Technological University in Singapore, have created ultra-thin, transparent perovskite solar cells designed to blend seamlessly into everyday glass surfaces. And in the show notes, I've inserted a little tutorial on what are perovskite solar cells. They are different than the solar cells most you see on the top of buildings and homes today. This is another technology that's out there that's got a lot of promise. In the show notes, the blue text talks about the key advantages, but in essence, perovskite cells have several major key advantages over traditional silicon panels, centered on efficiency, cost, flexibility, and new application possibilities. Again, come to the show notes. You can learn more, but let's go on.
Mm-hmm.
These new cells, this is amazing. These new thin, basically transparent perovskite solar cells, get this, folks, they're about 10,000 times thinner than a single human hair, and far thinner, of course, than typical perovskite cells to date. Amazing thinness.
The image that the article kind of leads with shows a researcher actually holding it in front of her eyes. So if you're watching the video portion, you can kind of see there, and her right eye looks a little blurry, but that is the solar cell that you can see through, and it's I would say, Ralph, it's not total. Think of it like a dirty, like a soap scum, kind of like on like a like a glass shower stall. Like, it's not totally 100% can't see it, but it is very much see-through. It's very impressive.
It is. It's very impressive. And going on in the article, it says, because these ultra-thin, basically transparent, to your point, not fully, but basically transparent perovskite solar cells are semi-transparent, which the article calls out correctly, and color neutral. Here's the key. They could be added to windows, car sunroofs, smart glasses, maybe, wearables, and building facades without changing how these surfaces look. That's the key. Wow. The new experimental...
I would say that anything that you would apply a tinting to, like, this would be about the same level of, semi-transparency as like a tinting.
Yeah, and they mentioned car sunroofs. Well, wait a minute. What about the entire car body?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Right? The new experimental cells can produce electricity even under indirect or diffused light, making them suitable for dense urban environments. Of course, they're talking about having multiple high-rise structures and so forth. You could still coat them with this material and generate electricity. Now, there's a little bit of reality check here. In testing, the most efficient version so far reached about 12% efficiency, while a semi-transparent 60 nanometer version allowed 41% of visible light to pass through and achieve 7.6 efficiency. Now, those numbers sound low, and they are, but let's put this into context. Mainstream commercial solar panels, typically the silicon type, operate around 20 to 22% efficiency, with most products on the market falling between 15 to 22% depending on technology. Now, in the show notes, I've got some more information about what does this mean. You can go and check that out. So what these researchers are saying is that they're not saying that we've come up with something that's comparable in terms of efficiency to your traditional silicon rooftop solar panels. No, but what they're saying, it's a cumulative thing. If you have that technology, traditional solar panels, combined with these transparent, ultra-thin coatings, if you want to call them that, the cumulative total, even though the yield is small, is impactful. It could be very, very beneficial. These numbers are lower than traditional rooftop solar panels, as I just mentioned, but the benefit is access to surfaces where normal panels cannot be installed. That's the key.
Yeah, I'm really sure with the thinness and all the different applications, it's my mind immediately goes to like covered patios and stuff like that. Things that you wouldn't put like a whole solar installation on, but being thinner, more transparent, and hopefully lighter weight, you can put it on a lot more places, and
absolutely.
That's exciting.
Oh, I know it is. It's great. I mean, I think this is really very significant stuff coming out of Singapore. Salute to these folks. Now, let's wrap this up. A little bit of a reality check. And this is indicative of a lot of the stories that Ben and I report on. Early research. You're not going to go to Costco next week and get this, okay? This technology is still in the laboratory stage. Nanyang Technological University has filed a patent and is working with companies to explore manufacturing, durability, and ultimately large-scale production. So we may be looking at multiple years before this hits the market, but it'll be a great addition to the wheel of energy with lots of spokes maybe this will be a new spoke in the wheel of sustainable energy.
Yeah, it really seems like if it's something that can just be applied to a surface that you traditionally wouldn't, and the end user ideally doesn't really even have to interface with, and it's just your car gets a little bit more juice, or your wearable gets a little bit more energy as you're walking around. I mean, Ralph, there's like it becomes a point of like if the cost comes down to the point, why not do it? Why not capture that wasted energy? So very, very cool. Okay, so story number 1, we like that. Story number 2, let's go from solar to solar, if I'm not mistaken. And this one is, this one's real. Well, I'm sorry. So, wow, Ralph, you are tricking me. It's first thing in the morning here while we're recording this. Solar, and then you go with soil, and that is devious. So soil energy. Let's go ahead and talk about this.
I absolutely love this next story. It comes out of the University of Bath in the United Kingdom. Headline: Soil Power. UK startup Bactery. We'll find out why that name is relevant. So UK startup Bactery, that's Bactery, is generating sustainable energy from the earth, meaning soil. And we have great links here, linked to the company's website and so on. I really encourage you to check this out. Also in the show note, there's a great illustration, or kind of like a tutorial slide from the company's website that explains in a quick visual what's going on. But let's get into this. Researchers at the University of Bath in the UK have launched a startup called Bactery that has developed an innovative way to generate clean electricity directly from soil. Instead of relying on sunlight, wind, or disposable batteries, the new technology captures energy naturally produced by microorganisms living underground or in the soil. So you can see Bactery for bacteria, factory, bacteria factory, crunch it together, Bactery. Isn't that great?
This is starting to sound like something from like Iron Man, some kind of science fiction where they're like, yeah, we've turned the entire to explain some weird mumbo jumbo. It's like we turned the entire Earth into a battery, so now everyone gets free electricity, something like that,
Yeah, into a generator, and the system works by taking advantage of special soil bacteria that release electrons as they break down organic matter. Let me say that again. This is cool. The system works by taking advantage of special soil bacteria that release electrons, who knew, as they break down organic matter. The buried device, the company calls a soil microbial fuel cell, collects these electrons and converts them into a steady supply of electricity. Since bacteria are constantly active, the battery continually recharges itself while it remains in the ground. Whoa. Now, this is so cool, I think. The company's first target market is agriculture. So this is agricultural technology, arguably. Modern farms increasingly depend on sensors and Internet of Things devices to monitor soil moisture, crop health, and weather conditions, as you and I, Ben, have covered this many times before with other technology stories. And these sensors often require present-day sensors for agriculture often require expensive wiring, frequent battery replacements, or solar panels that stop working at night or during cloudy weather. Bactery's technology offers an alternative by providing continuous, maintenance-free power directly from the soil.
You said it at the end of the previous story where the energy, wheel is going to have a lot of spokes. There's going to be a lot of components that are going to work together. Obviously, the website wants to make as splashy of a claim as it can to replace these technologies. But Ralph, if it works as good as it says, in conjunction, redundancy is always very important in technology. So, yeah, I can see this working with all those technologies.
I think especially solar panels. I think that's where they're tag team on that would be great. So here's a great thing from the article. The company estimates each fuel cell or bacteria unit would last more than 25 years, cost about 25 pounds, that's roughly $34 in our currency, and require virtually no maintenance. making it an install and forget solution. Gotta love that. And to wrap it up here, Bactery is now refining its prototypes and plans to begin small scale production with future applications extending beyond agriculture to many other low power electronic devices. Wow, I love it.
Yeah, and the device itself looks very simple, very clean, not
Yeah.
very kind of like utility farm equipment kind of look. Has a very modern, sleek design to it.
Yes.
But yeah, the website's definitely worth checking out. We've been kind of
Yes, it
scrolling
is.
it as you've been doing the article. But yeah, huge promises. And Ralph, this goes to another trend that you kind of say in that you think of farming, construction, a lot of these what you would consider kind of low tech, low technology fields. But man, everything's using computers nowadays. Everything's using sensors.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you make a good point. We've stressed this so many times before over the years. If you think construction technology and agricultural technology is boring and kind of mundane, wow, check it
Yep.
out. It's not.
Yep. And now they got a neat new soil battery. That is a new one for me. That is the first time I've heard of anything like that. So good job
Pretty
to the
cool.
nice people over at Bath, or
Yes.
University of Bath, I should say.
Yes.
So there you go. So story number 2, really cool. Story number 3, and this one at least is, a little bit more back on solar, but again, I'm seeing a trend here where we're talking about energy
Yes.
storage, and energy solutions in today's show. So,
Yes.
story number 3.
And this is so unusual and so fascinating. Comes from Anthropocene Magazine.com. Headline: This shape-shifting liquid stores solar energy and releases it on demand. Subhead: Northwestern chemists created a liquid that morphs into an energy-storing gel and resets with nothing but air. No metal, no plastic, no battery casing required. Okay, irresistible headline if you're a science tech geek like we are.
Yeah, the GIF at the very beginning of this article, I was like, okay, so this what looks like a contact lens turns into a 9x13 baking dish and then back into a contact. But no, it's a GIF showing it. I'm sure what we're going to talk about it changing.
Yes, it's so cool. So researchers at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, have developed a new shape-shifting liquid that can absorb sunlight, store that energy for long periods, and then release it on demand, behaving somewhat like a rechargeable solar battery. Now, in the show notes, I've inserted a blue text entry, and it talks about this shape-shifting liquid is not a single substance, but a designed supramolecular system built from a variety of components. So you can go check that out. That's a little bit of a geek insert for us. But unlike conventional solar energy systems, which typically require separate devices for collecting, storing, and using or releasing energy, this approach combines all functions into a single reusable material. It could potentially be used for clean energy storage, powering chemical reactions, or even future adaptive electronics. This is amazing stuff, Ben.
Yeah, I have never seen, kind of this solution. Like, we've seen a lot of different ways to kind of hold energy, but then to actually make it shape shift to release it. I am curious about the applications because I cannot fathom how they're, going to use it. So
Yeah, that's a great question. So when exposed to light, the liquid undergoes a striking transformation. It changes from a yellow fluid into a dark, gel-like substance as it absorbs and locks in energy, in this case, solar energy. In this gel state, the material can hold energy for months without needing bulky batteries or external storage systems. When the energy is required, this part you're going to love. When the energy is required, the process is reversed. Exposure to air, specifically oxygen, causes the gel to break apart and return to its original liquid form, releasing the stored energy in the process. Wow. The researchers drew inspiration. And this is something that you and I have talked about so much in the last couple of years. Technology inspired by nature, right? Researchers drew inspiration from biological systems, especially how cells constantly build and break down internal structures. The material behaves in a similar way, repeatedly assembling and disassembling as it cycles between energy storage and release. And to wrap this up, because it can be recharged repeatedly and works in water-based conditions without relying on metals or plastics, scientists see it as a promising step towards simpler and more sustainable ways to store solar energy. But to your point, I'd like to have more information about what possible practical, deliverable, real-world applications could be for this gel, but the technology is certainly a new twist on energy.
And you know, a lot of battery storages I think that people think about are usually pretty rigid, and this seems something that can be at least a different shape, and it can be in different, you know, maybe in just different conditions that have like a lot of stressors to them. I am so out of my depth for what it could be used for, but I can imagine batteries that are, you know, where traditional batteries really wouldn't kind of hold up, or, you know, through stressing, flexing, a lot of mechanical pressure. Maybe something like this, because Ralph, I mean, it breaks down naturally. That's what it's supposed to do. And then it resolidifies. So maybe there's an application there that it would really be suited for. Cool stuff. And again, from a university that we don't really highlight that much. So good job over to the University of Evanston in Illinois. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Hey, I just had a thought. Maybe what we could do is put this gel in the reflection pool in Washington, D.C. in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and it could be generating energy for, you know, that could be kind of cool.
Then everyone would just cut it. It would never hold up. It would never hold up to all those cuts. There you go. So story number 3, really cool stuff. And again, the GIF really just kind of shows you the shape-shifting, I'm sure, you know, kind of a representation of it. But overall, Ralph, very, very cool research. So
definitely
story
different.
number 3 and story number 4. This one, we're going to go ahead and jump down to a medical news story. And again, this one about Alzheimer's. So, Ralph.
Yeah, right. And again, if you're new to the show, typically speaking, the 4th story of the 4 we spend some time on is medical technology related. And this fits that bill perfectly. This comes from ScienceDaily.com. Headline: boosting one protein helps the brain fight Alzheimer's. And boy, Ben, you and I have been seeing story after story, research after research. The entire world is working so hard on Alzheimer's, and we're going to get there. I'm convinced we will. I hope so in my lifetime, but we'll see. It's so encouraging, all the work that's being done on this dreadful malady
It's always amazing to me, and you know, really for a lot of these diseases, Ralph, like we even cover it, you know, kind of every couple of weeks, that there's an entire mechanism that contributes to it, that powers it, that, you know, that, you know, not that everyone's research is missing or has blind spots. It's just these things are so complex that, you know, there's always just something else that we need to know about. But every time we learn that one more thing, we're one step closer to helping.
Right.
So
that's right. Exactly right. So here we go. Scientists at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas, have found a way to help the brain clear harmful Alzheimer's plaques by boosting its own support cells. The research focuses on astrocytes. That's astrocytes, astrocytes. These are star-shaped cells that maintain brain health. In Alzheimer's, these cells become less effective at removing amyloid plaques, which contribute to memory loss. In the show notes, I have a blue insert because I said, wow, I need to know more about amyloid plaques. I've heard about plaques, but not the term amyloid in preface or in front of plaques. Anyway, you can learn about what these are. There's some illustrations of them in the show notes. Check that out if you're interested. The team discovered that increasing a protein called SOX9, I suppose you say SOX9, strengthens astrocytes' ability to clean up these toxic deposits. So SOX9 normally regulates many genes in aging astrocytes, and its activity changes as the brain gets older. And once again, in blue text, I have an insert more information about what is SOX9, which actually stands for SRY-BOX9. Oh, this is mind-melting stuff. No pun intended. But by raising SOX9 levels in mice, once again, thank you, mice and rats and other animals that help us in science, by raising SOX9 levels in mice that already had memory problems and existing plaques, researchers saw improved plaque removal and better cognitive performance over 6 weeks. Pretty amazing.
6 months, but yeah, no,
Pardon me, 6 months. Excuse me. Yeah,
but really, any improvement instead of
Yeah.
I think most people know Alzheimer's as a steady decline with not a lot of ups and downs.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge to have an improvement of any kind.
Yeah, it is. You're so right. I'll take it any way you can get it. So mice with enhanced SOX9 showed more complex astrocyte structures, better plaque ingestion, interesting word, absorbing, and slower cognitive decline. The findings suggest and here's the key, the findings suggest a new therapeutic direction. Instead of only targeting neurons or trying to prevent plaque formation or trying to prevent plaque formation, treatments could activate astrocytes' natural cleaning ability. So it's trying to take a different way of going after Alzheimer's, right? While more research is needed to understand how SOX9 works in the human brain, this study points toward a promising strategy for slowing Alzheimer's progression by strengthening the brain's own support system. So once again, think of it like a wheel with spokes. This could be a spoke in a treatment wheel with other things that scientists are coming up with every single day to equal a really concerted battle against Alzheimer's. Pretty great stuff.
Yeah, these findings could lead to research that you still do all the other Alzheimer treatments and Alzheimer prevention that you can do, Ralph, but then you throw in maybe a little bit of SOX therapy, as one does, a little SOX9 therapy, and maybe it just helps all the more. It's
there you go.
Hey, you need it all, and it's really, really cool. So. Great story number 4. Great way to wrap it up, and hopefully chasing down not just a prevention, but eventually a cure for these awful diseases. But Ralph, we're about done. That's all 4 stories, and we try to keep the show a bit more condensed so it's easier for people to listen to on the go. Long gone are the days of being able to do. Well, Craig started the show as a 3-hour show. Geez, people in the 90s had nothing but time apparently. But for us, Ralph, we're trying to keep it low. But you may notice as you scroll through the show notes, there's like 4 more pages of stuff, and that stuff is also good stuff. It's really, really cool. There's even another article from Baylor, just like the previous story. These are stories that you should know about. You should know everything about them. It's just we don't have time here on the program. So Ralph is going to be kind enough to give you the headlines and a little bit about it. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more, come on out to Computer America. Find today's show notes, and it'll be right there at the bottom if you would like to read more with links so you can check it out yourself. So, Ralph.
Yeah. So in the last story was Baylor College of Medicine. When I was dinking around on their website, I picked up this other story too, which I thought is just great. So salute to those folks. Headline: previously unrecognized immune response could enhance defense against cancer. Again, we have links, show notes, and so forth. You can come out and check that out. Let's go on to the next honorable mention. We do 4 honorable mentions. The next one comes from one of my go-to sites of all time, interestingengineering.com. Great resource. Headline: new U.S. partnership aims to extract critical semiconductor materials from aluminum waste. Subhead: the project aims to extract gallium from aluminum refining waste and cut material development timelines from decades to just a few years. If you're into the whole semiconductor world, this is pretty darn interesting. And Ben, again, another trend you and I have seen time and time again, all the efforts to find ways to extract valuable chemicals or minerals and so forth from a whole variety of sources, in this case, aluminum refining waste. Pretty curious, interesting story. Okay, next one. Our third honorable mention comes from newatlas.com. Headline: low-tech solution for the 6G problem. That's the wireless technology. Metacrystal panels offer a cheap way to guide wireless signals around corners. Subhead: researchers at Aalto University in Finland have developed metacrystal panels, affordable 3D printed devices that passively guide radio waves around physical barriers. The illustration is really great in this article. This is cool stuff. Check it out if you're interested in wireless technology. And then our last honorable mention comes from bioengineer.org. Revolutionary 3D microscope delivers high-resolution tissue imaging at a fraction of the cost, and I'll add, of current technologies that are available. So this is really also very significant stuff.
Yep, just any way that you can get technology to be, cheaper, more accessible, and more available for people. You're going to see a lot of these, a lot more breakthroughs. So, Ralph, you picked an amazing cadre of stories, slew of stories. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to learn more about any of these stories, because as Ralph said at the beginning, he did key points, and they're, all of them very relevant, very good. But there's always more to find out in the links in the show notes. So come on out to Computer America, check that out. And Ralph, I want to thank you so much, as always, for putting the show together, for putting the show notes together, and making sure everyone out there can find everything that they need. So everyone, thank you for tuning into Computer America. We enjoy it every time. We'll catch you next time. Until then, have a great weekend. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.